Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ryan J. Downey with Knotfest.com, and I am here with the co-directors of a wonderful new horror film called Feed Me. It's premiering this week as we're sitting here recording this at Beyond Fest here in Los Angeles. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, cheers. So the very first thing I want to ask, the whole co-director situation, before we even, I want to get into both of your backgrounds and horror in general and where this film came from. But in terms of like the roles and responsibilities when you decide to make a movie with another person, how do you divide that up and what's that collaborative process like?
Well, we've worked together for a long time in different areas. Like we kind of started with like YouTube stuff and kind of just went from that into building a way to make films and co-direct. But we also anticipated problems because we're both creatives, we're both going to want our ideas on the screen, and how do we navigate that? So we knew there could be problems going in, so we kind of divided the role. So Adam writes the script, so he took on like the dialogue and how things are delivered from the actors and that, and I'm very much a cinematography background, so I took on like the blocking and how it looks on the screen and how the characters move through the scene and that type of thing. So we kind of kept it to that. Sometimes we kind of chuck in suggestions to each other and stuff, but in general it's like we each have the veto of that side of the directing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So it's probably smart to kind of divvy it up and delegate it, so even if there's overlap, you kind of know where your lanes are.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of, the cool thing is that even though those lanes are very different, they like our personalities always mold into the same lane, so to speak. So like, yeah, like Rich was saying, you know, like if I've written something, he has a suggestion for it, and I go, oh, that's amazing, and then the two of us will end up just in fits of laughter by the end of it, and yeah, it's good. It's a good relationship.
Brilliant. So I wanted to ask each of you about your backgrounds and sort of your love of the genre and where that began. I've got to start with you because I'm looking at your Pinhead and Freddy Krueger tattoos right now. No offense, Rich. But yeah, kick it off. How did their love of this come about, and at what point did you know that it's not just something that you love watching, you need to participate and create?
It's an interesting one for me because I love film just as much as I love music. And
same.
Yeah.
That's why we're sitting here.
Exactly, man. And I knew that I always wanted to make films. I always knew that I wanted to make music since I was this high. And I just chose music first. So I kind of put the film stuff on hold, and that's kind of how me and Rich crossed paths, because Rich was doing his thing. He's been shooting music videos for tons of different bands, and my band hired him to shoot our first music video to our debut back in 2013, I think it was. And we just hit it off, sort of. We actually thought the other one hated. I thought he hated me. He thought I hated him.
The classic rom-com.
Yeah. Exactly. But then we just hit it off, and through that, man, like we just discovered that we had this mutual love for bizarre films and just the same sense of humor that's what we wanted to do together. So that's kind of how it begun for us as a director duo. Yeah.
Rich, what was your first exposure to all this, and how did you get into doing music videos?
So yeah, I grew up just loving film as well. Like I watched like horror films when my parents weren't looking, like classic kind of cheesy ones that I love, like The Blob and things like that. And I used to ride around my yard when I was about 7 years old, writing like ideas for films I would love to make, and I'd take my dad's Handycam and make stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of went into the music video side of things because I love music as well, and it was always the idea in my head to eventually make films, but I was like, I can't go to film college, I'm a bit too old for that, and the cameras are too expensive and all this type of stuff. But so I kind of bought a cheaper camera and started making music videos, and that kind of blew up really quickly, I think, because I specialized in visual effects. I taught myself visual effects from online courses and stuff like that, and that seemed to be something unique compared to what other people were doing, and kind of elevated me. I hate doing it now because it takes so much time, but yeah, and I still do that. But we met, like Adam said, on one of the music videos, and we kind of hit it off and started a YouTube channel on kind of teaching people how to make terrible movies, and we'd make a short film for every episode, which would take 2 days to make and put it out, and we just started making these stupid horror things, and kind of went from there.
Yeah, and of course, you know, for people watching this who might not know, there's such a rich tradition of great directors getting their start in the music video medium.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whether it's, I mean, all across the spectrum, whether it's Spike Jonze or David Fincher, of course, probably the best example. Zack Snyder did like a Morrissey video at some point, but in directed TV commercials before he did the Dawn of the Dead remake. It's, yeah, so there's a great tradition there. Mick G, certainly not unprecedented. And do you think that there's something about because to me, part of extreme music, horror films, music videos, is that accessibility, right? Where there's something about those genres where you go like, I could maybe even make that. Like, let me take that apart and figure that out. Is that kind of similar to your experience? Where, from what you're saying, it sounds like it.
Yeah, it's just more fun. Like, I think that it's probably one of the easiest genres to eviscerate, or to to draw out an emotion. Like, fear is probably the most easy emotion to tap into. And I know that sounds kind of like almost being cheap or kind of, you know, being lazy or whatever, but we do put those other avenues in what we do. There's a depth layer of kind of emotional things, but it's just such a fun element to play with. And also all the I like drama. I like you know, bands that have a big show and you know, costumes and stuff like that. I like to be entertained, and I think there's a lot of that in horror as well as the music side of things with metal. Like, I think metal has the most drama in the visuals of any genre. And I think that's what I love.
The theatricality, the cinematic nature, Bands in costumes, I think, here at Knotfest. We like a couple of those. Who doesn't like playing dress up, really, at the end of the day?
I mean, not to sound bad or to alienate any clients or anything, but there's nothing more boring to me than turning up at a music video shoot and they're all just wearing another band's t-shirts. I'm just like, come on, guys, have an image.
Look like a band when you walk into that Denny's at 2 a.m. on the road. You want to go like, that's a band. I'm totally with you on that. So where did the genesis for this particular story begin? In terms of, like, was it first you knew you wanted to make a movie together, and then it was like, what's the idea? Or was the idea there first? Or what was the chicken or egg there?
The idea was there I mean, it was there for a while. It was something so we were on a shoot, we were doing a music video shoot, and we just started talking about the true story of, you know, the guy that willingly signed a contract that, you know, allowed another cannibal to eat him, the Armin Muse story. And we were talking about how cool it would be to use that as like the inspiration to make a film with our, I guess, ridiculous spin on it based on those events. And we kind of put it aside because we were working on pre-production for another film with our producer, Ed Polgardi, that's still in pre-production. And hopefully we'll be doing that one next, actually. But whilst we were doing that, we just had this downtime where we were just itching to do something. And we just decided to develop this. So me and Rich got together and we, 3-4 days, a week at most, I guess, sat in Rich's house, locked ourselves away and just brainstormed this entire movie from start to finish of all the scenes that we would want to see. And it just went from there. And then I took that as my map and went on to just lock myself away and pen the screenplay to it. And it just went from there. Everything happened so quick, you know, really, really quick. It hasn't even been a year since all of that happened, and here we are at the finish line. It's fucking crazy, man. It's not. Sorry, can I swear?
Fuck yeah, you can.
Fucking great.
But I remember Ed, because we spent a year working on this other project, this script and refining. We've been working with Ed on that, and we were like, messaged him, we were like, we've just written another script in like a week. And he was like, we were like, do you want to come on board as a producer? And he was like, a week? Let me read it first. And then he came back and was like, this is nuts. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, he was super excited about it.
Yeah, but he didn't have the faith at the start because we just did it so quick.
Yeah, which, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has that same tale that turned out to be legendary works of cinema.
I think there was an element of magic in the air, wasn't there, when we kind of started making this?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. Like it was such a Yeah, I mean, like Rich said it, I don't know how else to explain it, but there was definitely an element of magic to it. Like, despite how grueling it was and you know, long sleepless nights of not just the part where we actually made the movie, it was all the stuff before, all the boring behind the scenes stuff, you know, the contracts and all that stuff that we had to do and organizing budgets and everything. It just happened so quick, man, and it just felt right. It felt right, and it just came from nowhere, really.
Yeah.
Strange.
And it's easy to, you know, kind of romanticize this idea of like the lone creative in a cabin, like pecking away at something. But it's got to be so much fun, like you were describing, getting together and brainstorming this whole scene by scene kind of structure of what you want to do. To be able to bounce that off somebody and just get that like electricity of, yeah, like we're stoked.
That's the best part.
It's like being in a band.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I wouldn't want to do it any other way. Like, lots of people are like, would you want to direct your own films? So I'm like, well, that takes half the fun out of it. Like, what I love is the camaraderie and the kind of brotherly nature of it, and just bouncing and just laughing our asses off into the night, just like belly laughing at some of the stuff that we're coming up with. And we're like, can we actually put that in a film? Like, would the public actually go along with that? Like, we're like, well, it's our movie, we can do what we want. So like those types of things, it's just so much fun. But also there's that, you're each other's kind of check and balance.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I could come up with an idea and Adam might be like, that's a bit crap. Like, whereas if you're on your own, you might just run with that, and you haven't got that.
You don't find out till it's too late.
You don't find out till it's too late. So we are like constantly like, that idea is not very good, but what about if we took that and did this with it? And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And like, it's kind of just being able to bounce it off a wall and really look into it with another person's opinion on it is such a valuable asset to what we do, I think.
It's when you have those magic moments of like, we'll come up with a funny scene like that's, well, I mean, hopefully the rest of the world finds funny, but we certainly do, and we write it and we'll just be in fits of laughter, right, like we were talking about before, but we'll get to the end of the night and that will be the recurring joke. Like whenever I'm at Rich's, like I always sleep in his office. Him and his wife set me up this really nice bed, and it's always really nice when I go there. So I go in, I'm exhausted. It's 5 a.m. and stuff, and we've been writing all night. But Rich will just come in. I'll be in bed, just like, and he'll be standing at the door, just repeating like the joke that we came up with, and I'll be cracking up because it's so funny, and we'll just stand for about an hour, just like going over it and reciting this scene that hasn't even been shot yet, you know, and we can just see it, and it's just I hope I'm making sense when I say
you
that.
are.
Like, it's the funniest thing ever.
There's
and it's
always that moment, isn't there, when we come up with an idea and we're just talking, we're sat on the sofa, coffee and stuff, and we're just talking, and then it's like, oh, but wait a minute, we could just start like standing up and like getting more excited and pacing around the room like, and then this could, and you know that's a good idea when you're kind of physically getting into it and kind of playing it out in the scene.
Absolutely. And and I think that's something that people really miss from the outside looking in, who don't necessarily understand the horror genre or the metal genre, is how clever and how fun and how much like, just sort of adrenalized humor can exist, whether it's something like Shaun of the Dead or Evil Dead 2 or Creepshow, or where you can strike that balance between horrific and camp, and it's kind of always hidden in there. Or horrorcore, if it's like a group like Twisted, or even something like Cradle of Filth, where you look at it from the outside and you're like, oh, that's really scary and dark, and then you really dig into it and you're like, this guy's clever. You know what I mean? Like, he's, Hammer horror films, like, the list goes on of like things that are that really kind of straddle that line and can have that humor without being slapstick.
For sure.
I think that's great. It seems like that's something you've tapped into.
Well, hopefully. I mean, I think it will be polarizing for certain people. I think some people will be like, this is too something for me, or this is not enough something for them. But I think the core audience that we aim at will really enjoy what we've done. We've, shown quite a few people and got really good responses back from, obviously it's their type of film, but I guarantee it's not some people's type of film.
But that's a cool thing. Yeah. I think it'd be good. Like I'm looking forward to people going, shit, man, I love that, and other people going, I fucking hated that, you know, and it creates an opportunity for conversation and debate, as opposed to, you know, making a movie.
Shrug. That's the worst response, right?
That's it. Or like again, like the whole thing. I say this so often, like it really is parallel to the music business, man, and I think it runs true with that as well. Like you can make a song that sounds like everything else, and people just go, yeah, all right, cool, next track. Or you can make a song where someone's like, what the fuck is that? You know, or someone goes, oh my god, that's amazing, and like it's special, and it makes it special, and it creates that conversation that gives the project, whether it's music or film, it gives a weight to it, and it gives it its legs to hopefully go far.
Yeah, I agree. It is a lot like music, because there's nothing worse to me than a song that's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I would much rather be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Exactly.
You know, or I've never heard anything like this, or whatever, you know, than
mediocre.
Just another forgettable thing that sounds like everything else. Yeah. So when you're casting this film, what are those conversations like with actors? I mean, in terms of like, here's what this movie is, and here's what we're gonna do. You know, what are those conversations like?
I mean, it's hard for us because we've kind of come from nothing, and we've built everything ourselves, and we've not done it the typical Hollywood way, or didn't have an agency kind of hiring us to do someone else's project or that. We've written it, directed it, cast it ourselves, but it's people that we know and love, like that we've got in this film. And the film was actually written for Neil Ward, because he's one of our best friends, and so there was no option for him. We wrote this to his strengths. Do you know what I mean? To go like, you want to get your teeth into a film, like the last film we did with him, he was like, yeah, I kind of didn't do much because I'm like this Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of person. I'm just kind of numb and that, and it's like, it's great, but like I'm an actor, like I want to act.
I want to emote.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, we can do that for you. We'll give you this completely bonkers thing,
a meaty role, no pun intended.
Yeah, for sure, and he delivered in spades, for sure.
Oh man, he smashed it. And he really, and I'm sure he'll tell you, he really did his research, and he really delved into it. He went really far. Like he went, I mean, we never doubted him for a second, but he really, really went beyond our expectations. Beyond, there's that word again, no pun intended, but like we keep seeing the word beyond everywhere, like, and it just feels a bit
one
weird,
step beyond.
Yeah. But yeah, him and Chris Mulvin, who plays Jed, holy shit, man, like there were moments where Rich and I would be sitting in front of the monitor watching these guys perform, and particularly Chris, he really has to do some really heart-wrenching stuff and delve up dig up a lot of painful emotions, and so does Samantha Loxley as well, and those two on screen, they're an on-screen couple and stuff, and without giving too much away, it's extremely tragic, the situation that those two have to act out. And we'd be sitting there, our eyes would be welling up, you know, just watching that. And again, when it comes to Neil and Lionel, his character, like, it was just nuts how powerful all of them are as a cast. You know, just all of them. Even the guys that play the police, Anto Sharp, Nadia Lamine, they're just such a good cast, man. And I could talk about them all day, but I won't, because I'll be talking all day. They're all amazing. And
they'll be talking about themselves shortly.
Yeah.
So we got that going for us too. I want to ask you, you know, of course, you're here talking about this movie, and you know you have other things in the works. Like you said, there was one that got pushed aside a little bit to get this made. But with every horror film, no matter how final the ending might appear, there's always a sequel. And it sounds like with the chemistry the two of you have and the constant sort of communication, has there been talk of like, if we were to do another one of these, how would we do it? What would the story be? Has that happened yet?
Yeah, we've discussed that. Like, I don't want to kind of get into spoilers of the ending and stuff, but I think with every horror film, there's no final. Do you know what I mean? So, we've had discussions, we've thrown ideas, or what if this happened, or what if that happened? Where would we want to take it, and how much more bonkers could we go with it? And that's interesting. but it depends, like if, you know, how well this one goes down and how well it's received, and, you know, if it goes really well, then it's definitely something that we would maybe consider sooner rather than later. But yeah, we'll see. But we do have about 3 other films at various stages of development that we're interested in doing. So we're having discussions now with distribution and production companies on which way to go with that, and looking at funding and stuff like that. So
Brilliant.
we just want to keep doing what we do. Like we're not ones to kind of sit down and wait around if we can help it.
Yeah, I've always loved that the final Friday was part 4 of like 10. So that's nothing's more demonstrative of the horror mentality than that. So, well, guys, cheers on all the success for this. I want to ask you lastly, as you've been on this ride, like it's all kind of happened pretty quickly, and you know, being here this week for Beyond Fest, and knowing that the whole world's going to be able to see this pretty soon. What's this part of it been like? Did you anticipate that it would have this much momentum?
I can only speak for me, but no, I don't set my expectations too high. It's not to say I don't believe in the stuff that we do, because I do, and you know, we'll always see it through and give it our best. But in terms of when we were writing this, you know, that we'd end up having a world premiere at Beyond Fest and flying out here for it, I still don't believe that I'm here. And I also don't believe I'm in the Knotfest headquarters. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is mad. It's like amazing.
Bucket list central, isn't it?
Yeah. Without fanboying too hard, this is amazing.
Every time I walk in here, I'm like, oh, it's just the management company for Slipknot and Megadeth and Lamb of God and King Diamond and Ilman Amarth, and yeah, no big deal. Yeah, absolutely.
We're trying to
we
pretend,
should fanboy out.
We're trying to pretend it's no big deal, but
we kind of just set out to make a film for ourselves, and we're not setting out to go, right, what would Hollywood want? What would, you know, what could tick these boxes? Because there's a lot of ways to tick boxes, and we just want to make something that we find interesting and we find exciting, and as long as we can, you know, make the investors whole again, that's all we care about. That we don't want to upset someone who's given us money and just blow it away, but that's as far as we really care, like financially. We just want to make fun films together and
make things that you love first, and hopefully other people love them.
Exactly.
That's where all our favorite records came from.
Exactly.
You know, you don't make Kill 'Em All going like, let's get on the radio.
Yeah.
let's make something MTV wants. You know,
you just write what you feel.
Yeah. Love it. Well, awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming in and hanging out with us today.
Well, thank you.
And yeah, looking forward to all the Beyond Fest activities, and for people to be able to see this movie, we'll make sure we get all the info in there once it's out.
Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.